Welcome everyone in the room. So good to see familiar faces and nice to have everybody here. And welcome out there. We always have a big group online, which is always wonderful because we get a lot of good questions from the experts out there as well. And if you're new and you stumbled your way here onto this live stream, I'm Micheila, and we are here for a channeling, which is what we're going to be doing over the next couple of hours. I like to always update everyone and fill everyone in on what's happening with the work and some of the themes and things, and then we'll bring in a general message from the guides. So we're hanging out with a lot of friends here, those we can see and those we cannot, who will be bringing in some wisdom. And I have no idea, honestly, what that's going to be today. And then we're open to questions. So here in the room, feel free. We'll pass the mic around. If you guys have questions, just raise your hand. Out there, you guys know there's the routine. Feel free to load up the chat and we'll take those questions in order. So if you do my courses, you'll know we just closed the door on Inner Circle 21, Your Galactic Lineage, which I personally really liked. I think it was so perfect for this time where we're all feeling a little out of place. Things are very still and very quiet. We have a lot of internal questioning going on, and this was all about our return to our origins and going back home, which is truly what I feel this is all about. And it's not a very comfortable time, obviously, for many of us, but we got a lot of support during this course. And I want to talk about one of the big takeaways for me in a minute, but before I do, it's really unusual that I would download the themes for the next courses that I'm going to offer, but I actually did a few weeks ago, to be honest. I'm going to offer a 2-day workshop in August. It's going to be August 25th and 26th. It's through Divine Mother, and it's entitled Homecoming. And it's all about our relationship to the source field and how we get back into alignment with that, which may not be what you're thinking. I know we're all thinking vibrational alignment and we have to manifest. And I think you might be surprised by some of the messages that she's going to bring in. As you know, she's been teaching me that connection is never really broken. We just kind of think it is. And because we think it is, we put a lot of stuff in the way of realizing how the source field is actually and truly supporting us. And that's really where we're going. So if you've been with me for workshops, you know we are not only getting channel transmissions, we're working with meditations and activations and Q&A and all that kind of stuff. And it's three hours each day. So watch for that. I'll be posting it all over, email and all that stuff. And then my final Inner Circle course for the year, Inner Circle 22, is going to be all about longevity and healing and ancient wisdom on physical resilience. And I think the timing for this course is perfect. And it's going to bring in a lot of different applications for health and how relatable to how we are looking at it today versus how they looked at it before, and some changes we can make to get ourselves on that path again. I haven't fully downloaded all of the course material yet, but I can tell you I think this is going to be pretty big. And I personally am excited about it because we need it, and always look for that. But my courses, the ones that are finished, are archived on my website. So if you ever didn't touch into something and then later feel like you want to, you'll find it all there. And what I love about these courses is they're quantum, which, for us here on planet Earth, quantum means presence. We're fully immersed in the present moment and all that it has to offer. But for a channel transmission, quantum is being able to tap in anytime in that present moment, whoever you are and however you've changed and received something different, because they're very dense in a good way with material and frequencies. So it's important, I think, for those of you who do take the courses to really get into your own headspace and integration of them, because what I've come to realize is that nobody is taking a channeled course for the same reason. And I know we all kind of get our minds wired around the lessons we're all going to learn, and we're going to receive these, tools and things that are going to be the same, but that's never, ever the case. And if you can sink into that a little bit deeper, you'll really catch the rewards and the value, right, of those courses. So I want to lean into that a little bit and just share a really profound realization that I came to recently through the last course and some of the teachings that the guides have shared in the book, Epitime, if you're reading along, which is on my website. So we worked with Mary Magdalene a little bit, who we all love. She just brings in such beautiful, support for us at the perfect time. And one of the messages kind of took me by surprise. And she said, a master does not take ownership or possession of their energy. And if they do so, will miss out on an incredible legacy that they have at their fingertips. And I thought, wow, that's kind of interesting. I had a pause on that because I wasn't exactly sure what she meant to really unpack it myself. But as these courses are going on, I'm having my own experience. I'm editing the book. And of course, the book is always mirroring exactly what we're learning in the course. It just kind of freaks me out because I'll go back to early chapters that I'm reading. I'll be like, oh my gosh, it's right exactly what they're talking about. But anyway, in the book, I was reading, and don't quote me on this. I think it's chapter 38, 37. It's in that range. The guys are talking about the DNA and the access we have to the Akashic realm. And basically what they say is every action and reaction we have to an experience in our life is helping us to prioritize a constant stream of information that is coming in to support us. So we have a choice. How we perceive the present moment is the criteria through which we realize the support that's coming. So for example, we contract a physical disease. And I am by no means good at this, but I'm going to use it as an example. We contract a physical disease. And how we perceive that disease from the moment it starts through its entire experience to the very end and beyond is how we are able to draw the information that not only supports us as we move through the rest of our incarnation, but has an effect on every other human being who has that condition. That's literally how much access we have. So in the book, I had to put this in the framework of channeling, and this came in as well. And I'm going to use this example only because it's relevant to me, and everyone knows what channeling is, but I think it can be applied to everything else. So when we're channeling, and we're all channels, we have access to the divine, right? Beyond this present moment, beyond this dimension, beyond this room. But what Mary says is the second we define that, meaning I'm a channel for Archangel Gabriel. I'm a channel for the Pleiadians. I can't channel. I'm a medium. We have just put a limitation on the access that we have and the fullness we are able to retrieve from that field. And what I love about this is it really hit home for me because at the beginning of my journey, I had no idea what channeling was. I started doing it before I was in this world. And I think that was such a huge advantage for me because I was really kind of an idiot to what any of this was. And there was no limitation in my mind. So someone would say, well, can you channel my father who passed on? And I would say, I don't know. I think so. And sure enough, I would do it. But I wouldn't do it necessarily the way anyone else would do it. I did it my way. And I don't call myself a medium because I'm not really a medium. But we can get information from whatever source we need to. And if we really take this up to the highest level, what is it? It's all the same thing, right? It's God, and we are that God. So what Mary is saying is we have infinite potential, infinite possibility, infinite access. But how we define that determines how it flows. It doesn't, she's correcting me right now. It doesn't determine how it flows. It's always going to flow. It determines how we recognize the flow, how we're able to tap in and read it. So I'm not saying it's wrong to identify as a channel with anything. I think that we all have assignments and things that we're here to do. But be careful, right, in how you identify yourself. On planet Earth, we have to define ourselves for certain things, right? We're all here being of service, and there are people who need our services. So we have to describe what those are and what our capabilities are. But we need to be careful, right, when we get inside of ourselves and say, this is a stopping point. because that is the limitation through which we are unable to retrieve this massive legacy and birthright that she's talking about. Think about that for a minute. I had to sit with that for a minute and go, how simple, but how profound, right? This is who we are. And that's really what the course was about. Hybridizing is stepping into, or allowing ourselves to step into, whatever we're meant to be at whatever moment we will, for whatever purpose we should. That's true service. Being able to shapeshift into that is what we are capable of doing. So we kind of get stuck in our minds with this hybrid term. We're ETs, and yeah, certainly we are. We were seeded from all of these different races, but we're just so much more than that. We really, truly are. So I wanted to share that with you guys and use that as the lead into the channeling today. We'll see what comes in. Anyone have any questions, comments, things for me?
Have you ever gone through a period of dormancy where you just want to be in peace and alone? Some people are used to me carrying their burden and they get upset when I push back. How did you set your boundaries, especially family that isn't understanding of you wanting space for peace and healing?
So hard. I think we're all there right now. Welcome to the party. That's where we all are. And I think the word boundary by its very nature seems aggressive. That's just the way I look at it. Everyone's talking about setting boundaries. I think it's just self-care in knowing your limitation. And so I say no a lot. I really do, but I say no in a loving way. And I explain to my family why I'm saying that no, even if they don't understand it. And the guides will often reiterate that we have to speak our truth in loving ways, even if those that are receiving it aren't capable of hearing it, because it's truly about how we feel, and that feeling inside is what allows others to ascend, because we are influencing everyone around us. And I'm definitely in that place. I will tell you, the past 2-3 years, my life has become extremely still and extremely quiet, and very uncomfortable for me because I am not a quiet and still person in my mind or in my body. I've led a very active life, so this is really new for me. But I think it's the preface of ushering something new in, and the problem is we don't know what that new is, so we're racking our brains trying to figure out what we did wrong, and it's just an automatic response, and I'm doing it too, right? I'm sitting there thinking, what should I be doing? I'm not doing something. Oh my gosh, why am I not doing something? But we're always doing exactly what we should in the moment that we're supposed to. It's just that we put all this programming in the way, of how we're supposed to do and be in the world. So I don't think you're alone, first of all. If you're in my inner circle, the messages have been streaming in about this period of time. And I think it is a gift to be able to go within and have this time of inner quandary, even if it feels difficult. So hopefully that was helpful. So in the room, if you have a question, we'll just pass around the mic, and we're going to go ahead and channel in a message from the guides and see who is here for us. And you can just receive however is best for you. This is a quantum transmission, as we discussed, but you are also very involved in this. Everyone who has gathered here today has stated a silent intention to receive something of benefit for themselves and the collective, and those intentions are always heard. We're going to work with the Pleiadians today. We are always so honored to be a part of these gatherings because we see the loving intentions that you hold, not only for the betterment of yourselves, but the betterment of your families and your communities. And this is, of course, of great concern right now, that if you are to look at the collective around you, there is a great deal going wrong. And concern is something that we want to address because while there are many who would consider concern a negative vibration, it is actually somewhat like a prayer. Any time that we are concerned about someone or something in our lives, it is often because there is something beneath that concern calling our attention to a greater extension of service. And it is just that in our minds, these intentions for service become somewhat skewed. And we want to play off the theme of work and doing what you believe you should on planet Earth, because this is exactly what everyone is unwinding right now. And these programs run very deep. They were seated within you as you chose your parents from their parents and parents beyond them. But it is not our concern that you will not reach a place where these programs do not implicate your happiness. What we want you to do is slightly shift your perspective when you feel concerned about something or someone. Instead of focusing on the impossibility of the change that you may desire to take place. If you are to deepen into the broader feeling of concern and where it stems from, you will always find love. Because the reason that we want so much for ourselves and that we want so much for others is that we are innately loving beings. And that love has been defined, unfortunately, in very limiting ways. Love must be shown to us. Others must prove their worthiness for our love, or we must somehow prove we are worthy enough to receive it. But love is not something that could ever be calculated in terms of worth. Love is the ever-present vibration throughout the galaxy that supports the creation of all things. So everything that you have created in your life, whether it has been born of concern or born of excitement, has a foundation of love built within it. And this is why creativity on planet Earth has become so suppressed in recent years. Because the more creativity that a human soul is able to exude, the more they are tapping into the wellspring of love that they were birthed from and possess and are able to share with the world. So sometimes it is important to get very creative with how you express your concern, because creativity can take many forms. Creativity can be an expression of something physical, an innate talent or gift that you have brought to the planet to share with others. Or creativity can exist within us and be the spotlight upon which we place in the world. If we are concerned that the world is not going in the direction we desire, we should use our creativity to expand the horizons of what we see and to go beyond the things that are not working in our favor, to seek out the things that are. And while this may seem a very difficult task, in today's world, this must be called home within yourselves first. And this is why you find yourselves in very quiet and still circumstances, because it is truly allowing you to take that pilgrimage back into your soul, where this creativity exists, where we may also define an opportunity to become free. Again, freedom being seen as something expansive in the world must start within the soul. For if we do not feel we are free, we will not vibrate into the freedom that the physical world allows. And sometimes there is a barrier that we have placed between ourselves and the world because we believe we must protect from the things that would do us harm. But these walls and barriers must come down, for while there may be things of harm taking place in the world, if we believe they are the stopping point for our happiness and our safety and the ascension of an entire collective, we will never find ourselves in the place we desire. So what we are suggesting here is that anytime you feel concerned about the direction of your health, the direction of your family, the direction of the world, you tap into the origins of that place and use the love that you know is there to again take inventory of what is truly unfolding in your world. Because you have the benefit of building a home that is the reflective vision of the new earth you desire. And it must start here, within every single human soul on planet Earth. And while we feel the disappointment that some of you carry, that not all humans are awakened to the degree that you are, we are not worried. Because so many of you have come to the realization that what is taking place in the world is a mere holographic response to the level of fear that you have been operating through. And once that fear is eradicated, and you begin to put your energy and focus and creativity and time into ensuring that your needs are properly met, there will be enough to share with the world around you. In fact, you will find that you are able to turn the water into wine. Because this story, while biblical in nature and sometimes taken out of context, is a true possibility for every human soul in the physical realm. The more that we create a home to our liking within ourselves first and extend it beyond, the more others we can invite in to this place. And we're very pleased to take questions.
Does the term holy guardian angel, higher self, and oversoul refer to the same being or vessel?
We are the Pleiadians, and while these terms can be so lucid and defined very differently, we like to categorize them a bit differently, and this is why. We have often referred to the higher self, for example, as a container through which a soul views its multiple lifetimes on Earth. And the reason for this is that it helps a soul to remember of its journeys and its importance as it is traveling through time. In fact, the parts of you that express in various realms and dimensions are massive. So to organize them and to refer to them in a certain way can be very helpful on the physical plane. The oversoul is very similar, but focused in the cosmic universe. And there are parts of you that exist in other dimensions and on other planets right now that are doing things very important to who you're becoming today and how you are here to serve on planet Earth. But that information is so massive that it needs a place to be held and to be prioritized and organized. Imagine if you were to exist in all of these different forms simultaneously, as an angel, as an archangel, as an intergalactic being, part of a council, as a higher self, as an oversoul, there would be a great deal of confusion in this linear lifetime. And the most tragic thing was you would forget the importance of why you are here. And we see this as being the foundation for why these various containers and perspectives exist. because they help a soul to be able to shift into different viewpoints of itself. But ultimately, you are meant to be here now. And that is why we believe it doesn't truly matter how you see these various containers, because taken up to the highest level, they are all oneness. They are all God. But when we bring them to the earth and we bring them to these transmissions and we define them, they are simply for your logical understanding so that they may be implemented in a linear fashion.
Does a planet Avalon exist? And if so, can you give a brief history of it and what it's modeled after?
So we have a group of beings that are multi-race, that are coming together as a council. Some of them are coming from the inner earth, and others are coming from places like Arcturus and Sirius and Lyra. And they will speak together through this channel as a one voice. While certainly we can confirm that this planet exists, we want to remind everyone that the cosmic universe and all beings and all consciousness within it is constantly changing. And how we define this present moment in terms of planets and stars and the beings upon those planets and stars is apt to change in the next, because this is how much energy is being shared and how much evolution is taking place in each moment. But Avalon we see as one of the original stars manifesting into a planet through many others, meaning it was a conglomeration of stars fusing together in a planetary fashion. And the beings that existed there were very similar to the way we perceive humans. In fact, we would say they chose a more physical form than a non-physical one. And while they spent a great deal of time exploring their physicality and assisting others throughout the universe to understand who they were and what they wanted to become, there was a cataclysm and a great shift in the universe that took place. And when this shift took place, we noticed this planet moving out of range of this universe and how it is often defined, which again is a very loose definition. Many of you would perceive that the universe has boundaries and borders, much like your own countries. But this, in fact, is not true. Everything is blending and shape-shifting in the universe. And while we can say that a universe is definable by its frequencies that are similar in range, there are always new manifestations taking place and exchanges, we might say, taking place between universes. So we see this planet still existing, just perhaps on the cusp of what you might call a different universe, and having a different experience of its physicality and what it was before.
A big fear of mine is that I can't take care of myself, especially that I don't have the energy to do all the things that are necessary to meet my needs, and also that I make choices that I think are beneficial, but ultimately are energy depleting. Please ask the guides how I can move forward from dependence to co-creation.
We are Divine Mother. And the inherent issue that exists within your question is the belief that there is something that you must do in order to heal. And while we know there are things that will always be done, it is not your responsibility to understand what these things are or to carry them out alone. This one understanding is a key code reminder deep within yourself and within your soul as to the healing power that you have access to from the greater universe. Because the second you allow yourself to not have the energy that you believe is necessary to pull you out of chronic disease, you have just opened a new gateway to information and energies that will guide your path. You see, chronic disease is merely the replication of a belief that began the second the body gave you the story that you are playing out. It is as if you are stuck in time. And this is not expressed to say that you are to blame for where you are. In fact, we see physical bodies becoming the primary focus right now because of the amount of spiritual work and energies you have taken on. You have become different human beings. You have become highly conscious and you are walking into a new reality. But it has taken a great deal of energy for the body to uphold its physical programs. And because of this, we see a great decline in physical health, not because it is a karmic expression, but because the beliefs that you have held about your own healing have taken you off the path of where it lies. In ancient times, we knew that anytime a disease was present in the body, it was a reflection of misalignment. We may not have known where that misalignment lied. We didn't know if it existed in the organs or the tissues as a physical process. We were unsure if it was something that we were thinking in the mind or feeling in the heart. But what we knew without a doubt was that if we would go to the breath, the connection that we had to the universe through an innate process called the nervous system, we would be guided to release it. And this release was based upon the premise that we would not define ourselves as anything but healed. So our advice to you is not take inventory of what you cannot do in order to get where you believe you must go, but to sink deeper into the rest that your body is telling you it needs in order to get there. And trust and have faith in its guidance and your higher spiritual process that is helping you to reinstate the body in a new way, in a way that may be lighter and purged of anything that would hold it back from a legacy and a future that is your birthright. We want to bring in also the idea of relaxation, which is different than rest. When a soul is at rest, they may perceive sleep or not doing in the physical world, but relaxation is a bit deeper. It is taking us into a sense of mind, and where our mind is carrying us even when our body is standing still. So if you can get a hold on this and distract the mind into a state of relaxation, you will find that the path will be revealed and you will do what you must and the timing will be perfect and you will find yourself in a higher state, for it is guaranteed. There is infinite possibility that exists within your divine plan, but there are also periods where we must experience its opposite to truly know what it is.
I would like to ask, how can we take care of an adult family member who has mental illness?
We are the Arturians, and of course, every scenario of mental illness is completely different than any other. And there are many categories of this we would define. Yet the question you are asking us has more to do with yourself and how you are able to show up in a situation that you may have no control over. And we think many are in this situation themselves. They are feeling as if they have no control over the decisions that family members are making, especially at a time when those decisions may be carrying them into things that are more harmful to their physical bodies. But you see, there's a big difference between physical care and vibrational care. And we want to default back to the previous message from the Pleiadians about concern. Concern comes from a place of love, but it is sometimes not expressed in the most advantageous way. If we are using concern to try to change the reality of another, we may be carrying more resistance into the co-creative situation that we are involved within. So for us, anyone who has a mental disease is struggling to stay in the reality that they are meant to be a part of. And it is okay if human beings find themselves in different realities at different times, or are unable to ground fully into the physical body because their soul is always elsewhere. And if we will honor that part of their soul, wherever it is, even if we do not know where it is standing, and attempt to connect with it, we can be the greatest caregiver of our loved ones. And sometimes this takes a deep spiritual pilgrimage where we trust in our own instincts and we invite in the information of the one that we love through their higher self or their guides or their angels. And we may find that our best avenue or path is to not do the things that we have been taught to do and to take a different road of love and appreciation. But if we always know in our hearts that we are doing our best and following that guidance, we will have the experience that we are meant to have. It is just that sometimes when we are in these situations, we believe we shouldn't be. We believe that because there is discomfort and pain and unknown, that something is wrong. And we are not saying that discomfort should be invited in, and feeling as if you were in the wrong place at the wrong time is something good. But human lives evolve and conditions change, and souls will go through periods of malaise because they know that it is elemental to something else that is going on in their evolutionary process. And unless we trust that story, we will not find ourselves responding in the right way. So bringing in the relaxation of Divine Mother is another suggestion that we have, for the caregiver is the one that often needs more care. The second we take care of ourselves to the highest extent, we have more energy to share with others. And so while this is not an easy experience by any means, and we feel with heartfelt sympathy the difficulties you experience, we want you to trust in your intuition and know without a doubt that you are here for great purpose. And it may even be influencing a path that you are yet to walk that you know nothing about. But through it, becoming the healer and becoming trained in something that you will use to serve many others.
May the guides expand on how we can communicate with crystals if meditation doesn't work, and ways to use them for healing, especially someone prone to sciatic and nerve pain.
We are the elementals, and it is a very simple process. To speak with us, simply do it, whether it is telepathically or audibly. And we are not unlike any other being that you would converse with. It is just that we are not existing in the same dimension as your physical body, even though we are physical beings. And this is what we most want to explain. Our physicality does not define us. It gives us a certain advantage. We are birthed of the earth, and we absorb the earth and come into a very unique expression of everything that she has to offer. But our consciousness is highly dimensional and highly telepathic, not unlike your own angels or intergalactic guides. So to call us in and to speak with us is somewhat like a channeled occasion. And we hesitate to say this because we know that some of you may doubt your own ability to channel, but it is far easier than you believe. Simply use your feeling as a guide. What you feel about us is a translation of what we are speaking in response to your request. And sometimes this is how a soul may be led to certain crystals or crystalline families that are best suited for healing. And certainly we could name several that have taken on assignments, yet we don't like to make those assignments so rigid. There may be some who would put the Amethyst Collective, for example, into a certain range or definition of its assignment, when in fact, an amethyst can orient itself to the needs of a soul that it is connected to. And this conversation is always ongoing. So we might say every human being is different in their relationship to the crystals that they choose, but those crystals are hearing every word that they speak, every intention that they have, and are sending a feeling back as to how they should be used. If you have ever had the notion that you should pick up a crystal and move it from one location in your home to another, or to sleep with it, or to wear it around your neck, this is a channeled event. It is a translation of a conversation that the two of you are constantly having, sometimes beyond your own conscious knowledge. And there are some healers on planet Earth who are very specially oriented, we might say, to working with the crystalline collectives and are able to speak on their behalf or to help humans in situations where they need crystalline healings. But all of you are ambassadors for working with us in your own right.
Is there a lineage called Aquael, Aquaelle, and who or what are they?
We are the Council of Light, and while we certainly hear the translation that you are speaking and understand your need to define it, we see this more as an interpretation of light language going back to intergalactic and cosmic periods on Earth, where we would say hybrids were using these languages to distinguish between certain assignments and frequencies that they would carry. In other words, it's a very difficult term for us to put to human language because it would cause us to have to spend a great deal of time to clear some of the limited programs and beliefs that you have about frequencies and working with certain languages. But we will tell it this way. At the very beginning of time, when planet Earth was merely a sound, speaking with many of us beyond her physical presence, hybrids came to do research. And we call them hybrids because in order to transition from a form of light into one that was more physical, they became something new. And when they originally began to realize that they were a different form, they knew that connection to their home would require a certain technologically advanced link. In other words, you are using cellular phones in order to contact each other and to stay in touch. Well, in a more cosmic way and on an earthly planet where light beings transitioned into form, there were a lineage of beings that took on this role. And they began to see into the energy field of these various hybrids and distinguish the frequencies that they were carrying that were different from planet Earth, finding a very common ground as to how they could reach beyond the veil. So we might even say this lineage is a very technologically advanced group of beings coming from different dimensions, but assembling on planet Earth and focused on ensuring that a stream of telepathy would continue on and the DNA even would not become disturbed. We'll add this, of course, the DNA being a focus right now. Those that came to Earth at the very beginning of time, while they were focused on seeding humans and understanding this new planet, were concerned that the evolution that would continue to take place in their star system would elude them. In other words, they would end their assignments on planet Earth and go back to their respective races and planets and see that they had been left behind. And this was of great interest to those at the time on planet Earth and furthered a great interpretation, we'll say, or philosophical teaching of how the DNA works and how this could never be the case, how evolution, regardless of the location that you're at in the universe, can be used as a tool to continue your journey.
How do you advise someone who has lost a connection with Source?
Well, we are Mary Magdalene, and it is first important to note that there is never a broken connection to Source energy, for you constantly exist within this field and are co-creating together regardless of your conscious knowledge. But the brokenness that you feel is when you observe your reality and are constantly taking inventory of desires that are unmet. And often it is because these desires have been calculated by something outside of you that you believe will bring you happiness. And we want to share our idea about manifestation while not lingering too long on this topic, knowing it could take hours for us to explain this relationship that you carry with Source energy, a kinship, we will call it, that has gone on for multiple incarnations. You come with a divine plan, but this plan is so massive that it is not just affecting yourself. It is taking into consideration every other human being who is incarnated at the time you are. And this means that there are certain vibrational influences that are going to carry you through experiences for the sake of evolution. But what we see in terms of free will is that Source energy is always supporting bringing this plan into the highest expression it can possibly be. But what you desire exists in a lower frequency range than what Source is able to support. In other words, you believe a physical life should be a certain way. You believe that death and birth are already predetermined. You believe that you cannot heal, or a body will become something because it must. And these are just a few examples of how a divine plan becomes expressed in a very low frequency range. We may even say suffering, which we have seen exist for a great number of years on planet Earth. The second that you believe you are disconnected from Source and something inside of you must control that relationship, you have lost the perspective on what you are already receiving on a daily basis. Because there are things in your life that are good and have always been. And it is just the mystery of what is coming that sometimes throws us for a loop. And we believe we must adopt some technique in order to manifest with Source in a way that meets our needs. And we invite you to let go of everything you think you need and to watch what Source is willing to provide. This is the sweet spot, we believe, that helps you to align back to this innate connection we speak of. And we know it is quite opposite of what you have learned. When we are not attempting to control our reality, we will find our reality will take shape in better ways than we imagined. But getting from where you are to that state of alignment is what you must be focused on. And our best advice for this is to treat yourself as if you would a cherished child. Love yourself back into alignment with life. Even though right now it may not seem to be the way you believe it should, find reasons to be alive. And as you do, that feeling of aliveness within you will be the first evidence that Source is near. And it will begin to percolate and begin to magnetize more of what makes you feel alive.
Why are our emotional bodies being attacked?
We are the Pleiadians, and while we understand the basis for this question, we want to reframe it in how we observe your current reality. Your emotional bodies have been suppressed for a very long time. You have been taught not to feel. And this has caused not only so much harm in the body and in the psyche, but also in your connection to other humans. Some would fear being this empathic and this closely connected to their emotions because they believe it would take them out of control. But emotions are frequencies that must be processed. They are quantum and present moment transitions back to center. And if for a long period of time, a race has been suppressing its ability to work consecutively with an emotional body and is open to the amount of ascension it will take to get to a new reality, they will find themselves in a state of emotional imbalance. And that is because sometimes we are so out of balance that we have to be in the intensity of the chaos of it for a while for it to fall into balance. And this is simply how we see your experience today. But we also want to share that there is a lot of unnecessary emotional turbulence taking place on planet Earth today. And in fact, we talk a great deal in these transmissions about reptilian consciousness and a group of human hybrids on planet Earth who are playing with your ability to manifest and to vibrate in a way that is suitable to your human soul. And the way that they do this is through the mind and the emotional body. Because if they lead humanity on a turbulent emotional path, they will become weakened. And then there is an advantage to be had. It's not that we are saying emotional turbulence is a weakness. But if you are in the throes of emotion every time something is presented to you that you do not like, then it will be very difficult to find yourself in this home environment that has been the theme for this entire transmission. We speak a great deal about emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence to us is constructively expressing what you feel in the moment it arises so that it can be cleared and you are able to use what you feel as the vehicle of change. So if you find yourself very emotionally turbulent with no end in sight to that emotion, what we suggest is to pause and deepen in the emotion and allow it to carry you to some conscious physical action. Because anger and fear can be tremendous proponents of conscious action if we will allow them. But yet if we stay there in the anger and the fear, consciousness never truly arrives. So it is somewhat like making a connection and bringing all parts of you back together with that emotional body. And in doing so, what you will find is it will lead you into a time of greater ease and a time of perpetual alignment.
What's the lesson behind the virus? After non-vax and healthy throughout this time period, then just caught it. Somehow I thought I was above it all. Very humbling experience.
We are the Council of Light, and we could not say there would ever be one lesson to this period on planet Earth. But what you must realize is that you're going through a great collision of timelines that you have been a part of elsewhere. And because of that, some of you are falling victim to what was before. And it is not through your own misgivings or wrongdoings that this is happening. We believe the collective human mind is a very powerful creator. Some of you have not bought into the timeline of illness or disease, but you are still a part of a collective experience playing out on the planet. And we say this not to put you in any state of fear. For it doesn't mean that simply because you have found yourself in a weakened state that you are going to walk it in the same way that others have, or that it has made you less than anything that you have believed before. We think if there is any lesson to be had, it is this: how you define yourself through any experience is the precursor to becoming something more, and even perhaps restricting yourself to something less. And there is this need, we know, to take sides. There is black and white and no spectrum between. Either you are believing of one thing or believing in another, and this could never be true. In fact, some of you are experiencing the opposite of what you believed in order to strengthen who you believed yourself to be in the first place. Because sometimes we will attract darkness. We will attract contrast and the opposite of what we believe we are, to go deeper into the belief of who we are becoming. And so we think this is the greatest lesson. Move into this willingly. Do not diminish yourself because you feel you have done something wrong. Embrace stronger the being that you are, and take the steps that you know best to allow yourself to become resilient again. It is this simple. But to define this time on planet Earth, well, so complex, and we have planted some seeds here, is something so massive because, in fact, we believe it's incredible what you are accomplishing, even though you cannot see it. At a time when human accomplishment seems to be at its lowest, the astral projection of what you are accomplishing is to us fantastic. It is just that when you move between realms and different dimensions, for a while, things are not going to feel very comfortable or known. But known is not something that should be cherished. So much of what you have known before has run beneath the surface of your conscious mind, and it has been the radar through which you are measuring everything that you do. And what if the mystery of the unknown is now going to be the most powerful conduit through which you create? Get into the feeling of this, and regardless of what happens, you will move through this period powerfully and in accordance with law.
I would like to know what will happen with the solar flash.
We are the Pleiadians. We've spoken of the solar flash a great deal, and we hate to call it one event. This has been our determining definition of these events as they have been seen through the eyes of many, because the solar flash has been going on for many years. You have just been receiving it in smaller quantities and we'll say many different occasions. And there's an intelligence to this. It is not that interpreting a great solar flash is wrong, or those who see the earth evolving this way are wrong. But humans are dictating how the intelligence of the universe comes in to support them. And this is based on their readiness to receive. So as your consciousness has slowly expanded, you have been communicating with God, Source, the universe, as to the amount of energy you are able to integrate and receive at any given time. And this is why there have been periods of solar spikes and plasma injections, because your readiness has called for them, and they have done their work, and they have brought in information, and you have changed. And there are periods of time of dormancy, and then another one comes. And we think this is going to continue on because solar injections are very important. And we believe the relationship between the sun and the earth is primal. In fact, during the very original seeding of humanity, there was an important alignment of solar and plasma injections coming to the earth. And this is why you are seeing them again, because you are returning to your origins. So fear not of any drastic measure that is going to carry you from here to there uncomfortably, know that what you are receiving is perfect for what you are ready to receive.
Can the guides please speak to the nuclear disasters on Earth like Fukushima, where much has dumped into the ocean, and what can be done to help with this, and how do our oceans heal?
So this is the Council of Light, and we feel, of course, much sadness about what has taken place on planet Earth in terms of radiation, but also cannot discount that radioactive wars have gone on in the galactic universe beyond the manifestation of Earth. So this is somewhat a historic timeline that continues to repeat through you and through many of us. Yet we want to explain what we see coming in the future and why perhaps going through some of this history was important. Now, we can refer always to the spiral of time, and we know that many of you understand what this is. There is a spiral that is operating through you. There is no mistake that your DNA looks very similar to this spiral, and it is bringing back history that you are meant to repeat for the purpose of changing and upgrading that history, for the purpose of constant improvement and evolution. So everything that happens somewhere in the universe that is seen as a problem is actually the foundation upon which a solution is being born. And if the problem did not exist, the solution could not come into being. And we know your next question would be, why would life forms be hurt in the name of healing? And this is not exactly what we are speaking of. There have been unfortunate circumstances that have taken place throughout your history. But these circumstances would continue without change unless they were met head on with the intelligence of a conscious population, with the creativity and talent to change them. And this is who you are, and it is why you've invited these things back. So looking out into your future and going into 2025 and beyond, we see this as being one of the most incredible periods of technological advancement that humanity will experience. And we know there is a downside to this because your consciousness will dictate how this technology is either sovereign and free and beneficial or more restrictive. And both of those possibilities exist. But in terms of cleaning up your oceans, cleaning up your land, the radioactivity in your bodies, we think it is going to become so much easier in the future than it has in the past. And the key to this is DNA. The key to it is frequency and sound. Water in and of itself is a technology. And if this is the case, a program can easily be inserted into the technology that reinstates its origins or its purity. And there are many human beings on planet Earth we already see with these concepts. They are working on these advanced technologies. Prayer is one form of this. The radioactive material in your own bodies can be transmuted through how you speak to the water that exists within them. So we have great hope, and we know that you are all here for a purpose, and we see where this is going, and we want you to hold that hope as well, and understand that everything can be changed. Nothing is marred permanently by anything physical or vibrational, for it is made of God.
What would I do if one of my biggest inspirations died from cancer? I had known him for 5+ years. How am I supposed to accept this?
We are Archangel Gabriel. And anytime there is a mentor or a teacher like this who leaves your life unexpectedly, it could only be because there is a contract that is dictating it to be so. And that contract rests upon your own ability to become the teacher that you have now lost. There is no distinguishing between the teacher and the student. We know some of you may have a difficult time accepting this because you are seeking the enlightened ones and the gurus, yet they are only a mere reflection of your own possibility. And this is why you would magnetize them to your field. And if they were to leave, or if something were to happen that would cause you to no longer trust in them, it has to do with your own evolutionary process and an astral agreement and communication that is going on beyond your knowledge. For everything is divinely timed. But the benefits of an enlightened teacher on the other side of the veil, still connected to you, is also very valuable. You never lose anyone from your life, especially the ones who have been the most impactful and significant in your spiritual journeys. They become a revered member of your team and are always focused on supporting you in the continuation of that relationship, just in a different way.
Is crystal harvesting and or creating orgone technology supportive to the collective? And what are the benefits? Do you suggest I share this with others through creations?
We're the elemental collective, and there are many who concern about pulling us from within the earth and disturbing the crystalline fields that are a part of Gaia's inner domain. And we want to describe this very similarly to how we would describe all of you. Some of you are here to work with the collective, and some of you are here to work with other individuals, and some of you are simply here to lead very incredible lifetimes and legacies that, unbeknownst to you, are serving in very massive ways. And some of us are meant to stay embedded within the earth in our certain locations. It is not very well known that we are always replicating and duplicating, and new crystalline fields and gateways are being formed every day. And some of us are requesting to be used on the surface of the earth, to become ambassadors for healing, to be used in technologies, and we are very, very excited by this. So those that are using orgone, for example, or crystalline technologies as a part of their healing should always touch in to the crystals that they are choosing, especially if they are removing them from the earth, and ask permission if it is their will to be used in this way. But often what we find is there is an immediate attraction to the ones that are meant to be used anyway. This is very much like the soul contracts spoken of in the previous question. Individuals will come into our lives for a great purpose, and we will cross paths because we were meant to, and crystals and humans are no different. Now, we do see Orgonite, for example, as a very powerful technology coming back from ancient civilizations and being put to use here again. But we don't see very many humans on planet Earth who are doing this in an ancient way that is actually beneficial. It is somewhat like alchemy. When we are putting an Orgonite pyramid together, we must consider its use, the individual or groups who will be using it, its purpose, and we must be of pure intention, because anyone who is creating a technology is a part of that technology. And if their energy is focused on self-service, for example, financial gain, recognition, all of these things can get in the way. But to your question, should these be shared with humanity from the most pure and loving place? We absolutely say yes. And as they are, we believe humanity needs some training as to how they are best used. And some of you are preparing to offer that training. It is a blind sight, we believe, to simply offer a piece of Orgonite to a human being without some training as to how it can be best put to use, because in the hands of malevolent forces can be a very powerful entry point to creating a portal in your space, for example. And a relationship needs to be built between the human and the pyramid that is being used. So we see many that are already assigned to support these types of endeavors. And we think this will continue. If we are to tap into the question about this time period and share our insights, we see so many common threads to Atlantis and what happened there, not only during the fall, but the very brilliant technological advances of that civilization, many of which were focused in crystal.
This question is for Jesus. Recently in a book channeled by Jesus, an autobiography, he alluded to breathing techniques that he used to get through the crucifixion, to not feel the pain, I think, and I'm wondering if he could talk to us about that technique and maybe how we could add that to our life.
Yes, and this is Jesus, and many support this transmission alongside of my vibration. We know that you desire an instructional process that you could use to not feel the pain of the physical body. And certainly this was not my only goal, because the resurrection had less to do with pain and more to do with rebirth and moving into a state where I was able to merge with aspects of my soul from elsewhere that came in to rebirth me. But in terms of pain, one of the basic foundational teachings that I learned was to disassociate with my physicality, not in a negligent way and not in a way of disregard, but by expanding the breath outward beyond where the body lies. Much of my training was focused in time travel and telepathy. In other words, I was charged with sitting in one location in the darkness, in a cave, not knowing where I had been led or what surrounded me, and focusing my breath through the third eye to see myself in a location elsewhere. And what I became very good at was transporting my consciousness there and having an experience with literal physical humans and bringing it back. If you have ever had an experience in dream state where you spoke with a good friend and woke up the next day and compared notes and realized you had the same dream, this is what I am speaking of. But the breath was not one practice, it was many. I was taught the Kundalini breath. I worked a great deal with the divine feminine and received their restorative energies. But the pineal was always of great focus to me. Master Babaji spent a great deal of time working with me individually to focus light through the pineal. For this, I was taught, was a portal for the soul to leave the body and to transcend the physical. And I literally saw myself moving through the pineal gland and out of my body into a state of light where I could observe what was happening with no attachment to how it was affecting my physicality. And I spent a great deal of time here integrating light and pulling in the masters I have been before. And this is how my physical body was resurrected. It was able to heal, not because of some great healing ability, that I was able to capitalize on, but because I became somebody other than the one that was on the cross. I shifted beyond that identity and into a new one and brought that identity back to earth. So my advice, if you want to practice this, is to still the mind through the breath and see yourself beyond the physical body. Practice moving into a different reality, one you have visited before, whether it be a beach, a place of great joy and celebration, or somewhere you have never been before but merely seen pictures of. And what you will find is you can carry all of yourself there, but as you come back, you will always be changed. Even if physical pain still exists, there is a part of you that has capitalized upon the vibrational energy elsewhere. And for this, you will be glad. And you will recognize that you will become a different person. Every time that you do this, more of you will come to the surface and be recognized. And for a while, it may seem confusing. But any dedicated spiritual practice, especially if it is focused on the breath, is going to help us to relate more to our light. And ultimately, this is what the physical body is. So anytime we move into a state of light, we're reorganizing the light that exists in the body. And we can take it out of its current configuration of whatever is taking place in the dimension that it exists within. Our most important message, though, to all of you at this time of physical discordance is to be in loving acceptance of that physical body and how it has gotten you to where it stands today. This is what is most needed.
My friend is grieving deeply after losing her twin adult children suddenly within a short period of time, one after another, a girl and a boy. Her dear mind can't understand the greater meaning behind the tragedy. Can the guides please advise as to how to help my friend to understand it all so that it does not destroy her well-being as she is struggling with her daughter dying suddenly?
This is Archangel Michael. And the need to understand is what often causes the most pain. When we are in the most intense period of a loss, it is not the time for us to attempt to understand. We are walking through an experience that may carry out our entire life. And how we feel about that experience may change, but is how we will be led into understanding. It is our willingness, as hard as it is, to be there and to show up for ourselves and all others who love us, that show us the courage that we are able to sustain to get to that level of understanding, which may not often come until we have transitioned ourselves. Humans are not here to understand. We know this is a hard message to receive. Humans are here to feel as deeply as possible, to reunite themselves with the meaning of love. And any time that love is lost, we have the occasion to find it in places that we did not know it existed before. So if there is any understanding to be had, it is this. We are on a never-ending quest of understanding ourselves as love, regardless of the conditions we have been presented with in our life. And if we will let go of needing to define the experience and understand it, profound understanding will be our experience. But we must allow it to change. How we perceive something the second it happens will change us to the degree that we may perceive it completely differently 2 and 3 years down the road. So we must crack ourselves open and leave the space for these wounds to guide us. And if we look at our wounds this way, as not that which bring us pain, but that which lead us from pain into peace, we will have more energy to work with. And our advice also is to know this yourself. For any time that a tragedy happens with a loved one in our life that touches us, we are touching into our own love and how it may be extended in ways that are complementary to the world. The human condition is what all humans are here to experience and to know greater and to change for the betterment of others. And it is not because death should be eradicated and loss should not be felt, but how we go through it and how we choose to suffer is something we are changing.
How do you manifest a committed relationship? Sorry, a beautiful committed relationship.
We're Isis. And all of the divine feminine masters gather for this question. And we believe the reason that you're asking it is relationships have been so unnatural on planet Earth over the last many years. When we say unnatural, they have been forced together for certain expectations and conditions. In other words, humans are looking to identify with themselves through another. And the second that we understand a relationship comes in to complement who we truly are, we can let go of the need to even have one. Because the greatest committed relationship that we will ever be in our lifetimes is the one that we have within. And the second we accept that and we let go of any attachment to what relationship will bring into our lives, we will find many opportunities for those relationships that deeply, deeply please us. Yet there is also a belief on planet Earth that relationship is something that is otherworldly. It comes in and it is magical. And there is no work that needs to be done to create the beauty and commitment that we so desire. And if we find it hard, the relationship is not worthy of our attention. In our day, relationship was seen as the priority, above and beyond all things. Above work, above abundance, even at times above eating. Because we knew that intimate relationship was an exchange of energy that affected our entire community. We bettered ourselves through the willingness to be in relationship imperfectly with another and bring all of those perfections to light so that we could embrace them, not erase them. So think of relationship as an opportunity to continually improve upon and know yourself, and the most perfect and beautiful relationship will arrive. But when it does, care for it above all things. You are, through relationship, honoring yourself. And it is through another's attention that we are able to see the beauty that we have lost within, that we cannot see for ourselves. So we should honor that person for seeing that beauty, and if they do not, we should know that we have more work to be done, because we are merely attracting the likeness of who we have decided ourselves to be.
There's a new technology called energy enhancement systems that uses custom installed computers to create a morphogenic energetic field to promote healing. What can the guide say about this technology, whether it is beneficial, and the intentions of the individuals behind it?
We are the Arturians. We're also working with the Mantiss. We speak through this channel as a one voice. While the basis of the technology and how it is meant to function is very benevolent and supportive, and even mimicking, we might say, some of the technologies from our intergalactic families, what you speak of on planet Earth is something that we express some doubts about, and here's why. The nervous system at this time on planet Earth is one of the most important areas of focus. It has been a target, and it is something that is the foundational cause, we might say, of every chronic disease that is expressing itself in physical bodies today. And while light therapies can be very healing and very supportive of the nervous system, the one that you speak of is still yet erratic in its signaling and not come to full fruition in order to we'll say, relax the nervous system into a state of coherence. And this is ultimately a soul's goal in healing, is to find coherence with the universe. And sometimes we are putting a technology in the way of our connection to God. But you've also asked about the intentions of the souls who are involved in these technologies. And unfortunately, we don't see a great deal of benevolent focus. And we want to refer back to the elementals in the previous question, talking about Orgonite and how anyone who is working with a technology needs to be a pure and clear, undisturbed vessel for energy, because they become a part of the manifestation of the technology. What is important is to observe the influences of others, especially beyond the ones creating it, whether they are monetary in focus or whether they are somehow focused on recognition or leading humanity astray. So while we want to support what is happening here and we see good things on the horizon, we are not wholeheartedly in alignment with the exact technology and those behind it that you have brought to our attention.
I've been working on aligning with my multidimensionality, yet feel like my physical is not aligning with this expansion I'm experiencing. Is this timing, or am I missing something?
This is the Pleiadians. This is not uncommon. In fact, we might say this is what many, many humans are experiencing right now. And it is solely due to the difference in time-space in your physical material versus the amount of energy that your consciousness is able to hold. So let's give you an example. Many of you have been time traveling, meditating, channeling, connecting to things beyond the earth. And as you do, you're using your light body and your plasma to interact with something and have an experience. And of course, your energy field is forever changed anytime this happens. But your bodies are a legacy of vibrational energy very compactly coming together as light. And it carries programs, it is a consciousness, it carries belief systems, and it is probably, in our mind, the last field of transition when it comes to moving into the fifth dimension. And this is why so many are struggling right now, because the more conscious you are becoming, the more sensitive your bodies are adapting to the outer world or the chemicals and metals and toxins that they have been laden with for a very long time. And this is why the incidence of disease is so high right now, because in order for the physical body to make the transition into a more multi-dimensional format, it has to be purified of these things. Now, when we say purify, we aren't speaking of perfection here. The body has an ability to detoxify very efficiently, but unfortunately, it has been bombarded, even at birth, with a variety of things that has built up within it. And so detoxification alone physically is not the only mechanism through which the body will transition. In fact, we believe that using the breath as a tool of detoxification may be far more efficient than what many of you are applying in the physical world. These things are important, and we do see them having an effect. But the reason we call your attention to the breath is because the expansion of the channels of energy are so, so important to what you are speaking of. Think of your consciousness and light body as being ascended and able to move between any dimension and have any experience it wants, but the body having this anchor. And it's often because it's not generating enough energy to even sustain itself on the physical plane, let alone move into a multidimensional state. So the more that you practice breath, the more you're going to find that these channels become expanded, the cells become activated, and the body can transform on its own. It is intelligent, it knows what to do. So it does also need your reliance, which is a big part of this equation. Humans have lost faith and reliance on the physical body, and some even seem very defeated about its capability. But we want you to hold that faith and hope that the body can come with the rest of you, because it is meant to, but it will take a longer amount of linear and physical time.
Changing your frequency causes problems with relationships. How do you balance your own change within a family that's not willing to do the work or believe in the work?
Yes, we are Archangel Michael, and it is quite a problem today that human beings and families are operating on different timelines and in different frequencies. We see this. And it is not your job to stall your own frequency for the benefit of a relationship. This is one of the biggest mistakes that we see, is that an evolving soul who is finding themselves unaccepted by the ones that loved him or her before are dimming the light within them to go back into scenarios where they might feel comfortable or safe or known. And while it is difficult for a time, we think that what is actually needed is the opposite. If you return to a family that does not love and accept you because you have become something other than you were before, we want to first challenge you to observe with great curiosity how that new person is showing up. Because there is a very fine line between becoming yourself in a loving way and enforcing who you are on those that are not ready to become its likeness. And this has been a great part of your unfortunate transition, is the love that you feel for those around you who do not know what you do is causing you to act erratically. But boundaries are important, because if you do show up in this way, loving, high vibrational, renewed, with different beliefs than others expect, and are treated poorly, these are grounds for restricting your energy and going where you resonate. And while we think this may seem as if it would break apart the family unit, we think it's the greatest opportunity for healing. It is all in how it is carried out. It is like an intimate relationship, and we've used these examples before. If something is going wrong in a partnership and we are not being treated well, and we sever that partnership and walk away without dealing properly with the energy, we may manifest that experience again. So we have to do everything that we do in the most loving and highest vibrational way, so that we are leaving ourselves open to the healing that is possible and the reuniting of the souls that may not have understood us before, but now understand themselves at a better level. You are holding humanity to a higher standard, and this is not easy either. And sometimes this is happening vibrationally beyond your words. Humans with an expanded aura, for example, will walk into a room where others are restricted and will cause them to see things in themselves that they would rather not. And it becomes very uncomfortable, and it is reflected back on that individual as if they are the ones who are wrong or doing something that is wrong. And this is why many humans who are ascending so quickly are finding it hard to maintain friendships and relationships with family. But we want you to have faith and hold true to who you are and know that there is a great awakening taking place on a massive scale. There are just many who are still in resistance of what they now know because it is so different than who they would have claimed to be before. And there is a great deal of ego involved because to show that they may have been aligned with you all along is not something that is readily or easily able to be shared. So have compassion, and that compassion will lead you into more compassionate relationships, more compassionate circumstances, and great gatherings of souls who are like-minded and have your best interests at heart.
How do we use these new energies now accessible to and through the human body now?
We are the council, and we're pleased by this question because as of late there have been extremely intense plasmic and solar frequencies coming to Earth, which we know can be difficult for human bodies to receive. And we want to recommend, very similarly to the previous question about the emotional body, that you go towards these energies and not restrict from them. We often see that this is the problem. If something is coming to upgrade you and you are in a restricted state, that upgrade is going to be far more uncomfortable than if you were welcoming and accepting it in. So whatever this means to you as an individual, working with energy is as simple as welcoming in what is coming. And we know some of you may feel resistance towards this even because there are so many malevolent forces on planet Earth today and negative intentions by those who want to control humanity. But we think this is just as simple and similar as anything else. We're not asking you to invite in malevolent forces. But if you encounter them, interacting with them in love is how they transmute and change. Whatever you accept and see in love is impacted by that vibration. And this is all you must keep in mind. So restorative practices to us are something that come to mind because regardless of how much you accept in, you still may be feeling the discomfort of a very intense integration. And when we speak of restorative, we're speaking of sleep, water, prayer, meditation, relaxation, connection with nature. All of these things that are second nature to many of you who have been in these conversations for a very long time are the true keys to allowing these energies to integrate better.
Can you change your DNA, for example, if you have genetic medical issues?
Yes, we are the Arturians. It is not only possible, it is how you were created. DNA is not stagnant, nor is it meant to stay the same. And this is the biggest misnomer or lie that's been perpetuated on planet Earth. Certainly, there are going to be genetic components that are the characteristics and basis for the experience your soul wanted to have when it came to Earth. These are typically the things that you cannot change and would not change, like the color of your skin, the color of your hair, the color of your eyes, your body composition. Even certain genetic diseases or predispositions may be a part of your soul's experience because you are here to transmute them as your highest service. But what you are neglecting is all of the information that your DNA has access to, meaning you can overwrite any program that the DNA has been coded to. Yet there's a limitation as to how this works. And we want to be careful with our words here, but we want to explain it in a more cosmic way. And this is our example. We use cancer. Many humans will struggle with the instance of cancer that has been passed on through the birth channels of their lineage and into the DNA. And that cancer can easily be tested for, it can be seen. The genetic potential is there. And while in the physical realm, there are many things that we can do to ensure that that DNA genetic program does not get turned on, there is always astral information in the crystalline strands meant to weave in and carry you into an experience that is different than what your ancestors had. For example, what would a higher experience of cancer be? Someone who knows how to heal it. And so many of you are coming to this realization that you are healers. The second you step into the healer from the one that needed to be healed, you can guarantee that a DNA program is being overwritten. And this does have a great deal to do with belief. Can a code be programmed into the DNA consistently? It certainly can, yet we see very low levels of belief within human beings on planet Earth today. So you have to first work on the limiting belief before you can change the program. Because you may bring the frequency in, but it will not have the ability to make the true change that you desire. So everything that exists as a program within the DNA has multiple different levels of manifestation, and some of it may be physical while others may be vibrational, but you are striving to balance both. You're striving to know the physical components of who you are and why you chose certain experiences while bringing in the energy and the information to manifest them in the highest state possible.
I would like to ask the guides about transcendental meditation. Is this a safe practice, i.e. not leaving your body when you transcend?
Well, this is Baba G, and I am supported by many intergalactic masters and teachers who are known for sharing these practices. It is something to ponder, leaving the body, and what this actually means, because it may have a different definition for every single human. Yet what you do not understand is, regardless of any practice that you are attending to, your light body is constantly time traveling. There is a part of you that exists beyond the earth always, that is communicating astrally and bringing back knowledge and wisdom to be stored in your plasma field. And often this is the purpose of meditation. When we breathe into a state of coherence, we're allowing the energy stored in that plasma to be released. So many who have out-of-body or channeled experiences in meditation are actually reliving or tapping into time-traveled events that they have had before. And we're not trying to make this confusing, but what we want you to know is there is truly no right or wrong. There are a great deal of techniques that exist on planet Earth today that have been brought from different dimensions and civilizations because every human is uniquely tuned to shift their vibration throughout their incarnation. And it is not right or wrong to leave the body or to transcend the physical, nor is it to consciously meditate and have an experience of planet Earth while you are doing it. All are relevant and beneficial, but there is one commonality one very similar result that you are aiming for in any meditation, and it is non-attachment. This word non-attachment, we know, seems very linear and very rigid, but we see it as so expansive. When we speak of non-attachment, we're speaking to things that would call our attention to control, what we need to change. This is what meditation brings us out of. It brings us out of a confinement where we have placed ourselves in the jail of our own suffering, and hands us the key to unlock the door to those bars so that we may be free. The level of freedom that we experience in any meditation will carry with us in our waking hours and will assist us in whatever needs that we have that we might have attachment to but no longer need to control.
How do other non-human races perceive mathematics? Do our math axioms hold true for them too?
Yeah, so we are the Pleiadians, and for us to comment on how we see your mathematics, it's a joyful anticipation because we think it barely scratches the surface of what you are capable of in a quantum sense. But numbers are so powerful and so impactful because they put a very physical component on something that is intangible. So for example, if you are studying sacred geometry or number patterns in ancient civilizations or in ancient architecture, you're going to find that they all equate to a sound, a sonic vibration or frequency that exists within the universe. And at a time on planet Earth long ago, this was taught to young children. But you have gotten so far away from this, you see, that the basic mathematic equations that you are doing are merely replicating something that is fulfilling a basic need to serve yourselves materially, but not really accessing the part of the brain that we think is so powerfully apt to restore consciousness. And naturally, like anything else that we have talked about in this transmission, we see this changing in the future. So while math is something that will always be a part of the human experience, the type of math that you will be doing may become more geometric, more sonic, or related to sound and music, as well as different frequency ranges or hertz frequencies.
Yes, why do we stay stuck in our old patterns and way of living when we know the changes we have in mind would make us happier and more successful?
Yeah, so we're Mary Magdalene. And sometimes it is hard for a soul to see their own ability to move outside of what they comfortably know and into something that they have no knowledge of. And it is this fear that creeps in the moment we contemplate our weakness that compounds the fear that has existed in our energy field for decades. In other words, the smallest step that we make that contradicts that fear, regardless of its outcome, is moving us in the direction of where we believe we should go. So often, contemplating how much effort it is going to take becomes our weakness. We see humans moving so far outside of the present moment. It is going to take work. It is going to take months. It is going to be long. I will not accomplish this until so much time has elapsed. All of these things are the limiting beliefs that tell us we are not good enough or may have to suffer in order to receive something that is tangibly ours. So our request is getting back into that present moment and simply taking the small steps forward. But here's another angle we want you to consider. When it comes to physical bodies and physical healing, this is a very confusing time to be alive because every expert is speaking a different language. There are so many different ideas on what the body needs to heal and what it does not need to heal, and what foods are the best and what foods are not best. And there could be no one remedy for any one human. And sometimes what's happening in your inability to step into something you think you should do is the higher self is overriding a path that is not for you. But we want to blame ourselves for not taking it, when in fact we're being stalled from something that would simply cause us more harm. And if this is something that can be accepted, what you may find is the intuition within will guide you beyond what someone else has told you you should do. And intuition, our inner communication, is far more important and significant than anything that anyone out there could tell us we have to do. This is similar to many who experience procrastination in other areas. And the basic premise of procrastination is it is something that we are not excited to do. And there are certainly things on planet Earth that we are going to have to do that are very mundane, that we are not excited about. But when it comes to our healing, we should be so excited to do the things that we need, that our body will respond to. So if we are not, this is evidence that there's something going on that we have put as a condition in our field to get to a place that is easier than the road that we are anticipating.
Can you talk a bit about sound healing and the best way to practice that? Like, are videos on YouTube any good?
We're the Hathors, and sound and frequency, these are such a delight to us, and easy ways, we believe, to bring the body into coherence when it is so resistant, because sound will override thoughts and emotions and belief systems and patterns in the body very easily. But in today's world, it is sometimes hard to choose the right frequency for what you have specifically going on within the body. And there are, we know, many options. But not unlike anything else, we want you to feel into how the sound meets your energy field. For example, some may be drawn to use a Schumann resonance as a part of their regimen. But they put a Schumann resonance into their body, and it is like nails on a chalkboard. And the mind may believe, this should be something healing for me because it comes from Earth. But there are so many reasons why our body would reject a certain frequency. For example, not unlike any technology, the one who is creating the sound has an influence on its caliber of healing. And we can sense this sometimes if we are going into the media to choose something to play. We may be picking up not on the frequency only, but also any intentions that have been layered within it from the human or humans who have created it. And this is why we always want you to go with what resonates. Try them out. It matters not so much to us whether the sound comes from something you are playing on media or something that is made realistically in the moment through a crystal bowl or a gong. We think they can have the same effect, but the same applies in a live circumstance that does in something that is recorded. The one who is playing the instrument or ones who are creating the sound healing event have a great deal to do with its influence. And we encourage you, if you are attending these events, to be courageous enough to step out when your body says no, or things begin to not feel as if they are supporting your highest interest, because you are all wired differently. And you all have different sensitivities. Some of you may have sound abilities yourselves, and tapping into the sound of others can be something very disrupting to your own channeled ability. And so you may be called to practice on your own with instruments in your own home that bring you into a state of relaxation. We even recommend toning, for example. Your own human voice is the safest and most powerful vehicle of sound. And this is why the ancients would ohm and chant, because they knew within their own vocal cords, within their own throat chakra, was a mechanism of built-in healing. That vibration is what your body most needs. And we think this is one of the most beneficial things that you can do in the way of sound, even speaking to yourself when you are praying or stating affirmation is such a powerful sound vibration, because the cells will respond to you and your voice more than they will respond to something that is inorganic or outside of you.
Spontaneous incarnation, which happens in a quantum fashion, is mentioned in Class 2 of Lightworker Inner Circle 21. May we have some detail on what that is, how it happens, and why it becomes necessary? Does it manifest as a walk-in, or does spontaneous incarnation occur as childbirth?
This is Mary Magdalene, and certainly it can occur either way. And when you speak of spontaneous incarnation, we'll overlay this with Immaculate Conception, which is a very similar concept. It depends upon the soul's plan and what it is meant to experience and who it is meant to become. And in our day, Immaculate Conception was something that was practiced. We prepared ourselves to be open to whatever needed to be received through us in order to share it with the world. And in this timeline, you are doing this a bit different. If you are opening yourself up to the magic of your own ancestry and lineage beyond this incarnation, you can spontaneously reincarnate as a changed master. And so many of you have experienced this. You've given the example of a walk-in. And we define a walk-in as a soul who has just experienced a timeline collision of massive scale, meaning they had opened themselves up through some activity of spiritual ascension to receive simultaneously parts of themselves from beyond the veil, whether it be Earth and timelines from the ancients or the intergalactic universe, a combined vibrational energy that integrated with who they were. And it's not unusual to wake up one day and feel completely different on planet Earth. This is all transition. It's transcendence, if you wish to call it this way, but it certainly happens in different degrees and in different stages. And what we notice about many of you who incarnated on planet Earth at this time is you all have a certain period in your soul's incarnate and evolutionary process where you are transitioning this quickly, where you are awakening this intensely and becoming someone completely different than you were before. And it can happen multiple times within one incarnation. And if this is the case, it is typically because you are here for great service. It is not to say that service should be measured as better than or less than in terms of any soul's contribution. But there are many who have come back into this timeline from past because they are here to rectify things that they have seen gone wrong. A part of the original divine blueprint of the human collective, they have taken responsibility for. And they are going through such massive transition to show others that it is possible, or perhaps to just create the possibility on planet Earth for others to follow, because you're all connected. And what this means is the more you open yourself up to the possibility of transitioning into whatever you need to be for the human collective, the more the human collective has the opportunity to do the same. It's all a part of why you are here. So whether it is Immaculate Conception, whether it is a walk-in, whether it's a spontaneous type of awakening, These are all perfect in how they manifest and purposeful in the soul's passage.
Could you conclude the session, please?
Yes. We are Mary Magdalene. On behalf of all of those who have gathered here today, we send our greatest love and appreciation for all of your interest and curiosity and attention, as we know that we are merely mirroring back to you what you already know within the self, and hope you will take this and use it within your lives wisely to become the highest versions of yourselves. Many blessings. Thank you. Thank you for clapping. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here online. Oh, question for me.
When will the book be ready for purchasing?
The short answer is I don't know. I am not rushing this because I think it's big. You know, it's a really big thing, and it's taken a while, and I've been delayed, and I think I've been purposely delayed with putting it out in published form. But until then, it's accessible on my website, and I'm slowly working through my second round of edits, and we'll have a copy reader do the same. And in the next year, I'm hoping, designing a cover and getting it out there. So that's my plan. But plans are made to be broken, as we know. Man plans and God laughs. That's my mantra. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. And Ethan and Barb will be up next, so stick around. We'll start a new live stream.